back to the TMBC Wake YouTube channel. If you haven't entered the surfboard giveaway yet, make sure to get over that video and get yourself entered. I'll put a link right above me, I'll put a link in the description below, and I'll put a link at the end of this video. Alright, so this is the 5th episode of my Wakeboat ownership series. And in this video, I'm going to provide tips on how to take care of your wakeboat, which should be helpful for those of you who are looking at purchasing a wakeboat, and it could even be helpful for those of you that already own a wakeboat. If you haven't watched any of the other videos in this series, you might want to go back and start with episode 1. I'll put a link right above me. I'll likely make references to past videos in this series in this video. Alright, so let's start out by covering the topic of cleaning. So obviously, to take care of most any item you own, whether it be your car or your house, your wakeboat is definitely not an exception to cleanliness. You'll definitely want to make sure you keep your gel coat clean. I generally just like to make sure that my boat is as free of water spots as possible, because the longer those water spots stay on your boat, the harder they are going to be to get off, and it might even get to the point to where you have to polish or buff to get some of those water spots out. There's also things such as what I refer to as scum lines. If your boat sits in the water for long periods of time, for example, maybe you rent a slip or you have a slip at your lake house, and your boat stays in the water, it's going to develop what I refer to as a scum line. And the longer that you let that scum line build, the harder it's going to be to get that scum line off. So you want to try to make sure that your gel coat stays fairly clean most of the time. You also want to keep your interior clean and dry. So the purpose of making sure that your interior stays clean most of the time is so that you don't build up stains and also collect dirt and dust and maybe gravel that can cause damage to your vinyl. So the more you keep your boat clean, the better on the inside. And you also want to make sure that it stays dry. And the purpose of keeping your boat dry on the inside is so that it does not grow mold. Boats are renowned for growing mold because they're always around moisture. So a good tip to making sure that your boat does not grow mold is after a day on the lake or a weekend on the lake, make sure your boat has time to sit out in the sun with all your cabins and lockers open, life jackets, wetsuits, all of those items out, hanging up. Let them have a chance to dry before you put your boat away for a period of time. Even if it's just a week, you can grow mold in a week. So now to transition off of the topic of keeping your boat clean, I'm going to talk about gel coat maintenance. It is important that your gel coat has a protective barrier on it. In most cases that's going to be a wax, but there are many products out there that you can try. I will actually put a link right above me to a video where I tried out a product called Hydrosilix, which has ceramic properties, but there's many other products out there to try. In fact, if you have some ideas, I'd love it if you comment them below to help me and others out on providing a protective barrier on your boat. But you at least need to be doing something to provide a protective barrier on your gel coat, because if you don't, then your gel coat's going to wear and oxidize faster. So now I'm going to talk about storage. The way you store your wakeboat is going to affect how long it lasts and the condition that it's going to be in when you go to resell it. If your boat lives outside all year round, then your boat is likely going to take the most wear and damage. I suggest that you have an indoor dry spot to store your wakeboat, because that's going to keep your boat in the best condition possible. If you have a boat slip, it would be best if you had a boat lift, because you don't want it sitting in the water. I do understand that that's not necessarily possible in everybody's situation, but do your best. Obviously, it's not a requirement of wakeboat ownership, but a dry indoor space is going to be the ideal scenario for your boat to be stored when it's not being used on the water. So now on to fluid maintenance. I highly suggest that you read both owner's manuals. Typically you receive 2 different owner's manuals with your boat. One's for the boat overall and one's for the engine. Typically your engine manual is going to provide you those maintenance items and the intervals of when you need to maintenance those items. I'll go ahead and provide a link to a video right above me where I did an oil change on my 24MXZ, which should be pretty helpful, but make sure you keep in mind that your owner's manual is going to be specific to your boat and you should follow those guidelines. Typically oil changes are going to be the first one between 10 and 20 hours, and then every 50 to 100 hours after that. I know my boat is every 75 hours. And there are other things like your transmission fluid and your V-drive fluid that you'll be wanting to pay attention to as well. There are also things such as the raw water impeller that you'll want to replace every so often. So make sure that you pay attention to your owner's manuals and follow those guidelines. There are a few other things that are typically covered in your owner's manuals, but I'll cover those as well. Winterization is very important for most people when they own a wakeboat or a boat in general. If you live in an environment where it can get below freezing during certain times of the year, then you're going to want to go through winterization procedures. I'll provide a link right above me to a video where I provide tips and a list of winterization steps that I do. So that should be pretty helpful for you. And then to follow up with that, you'll also want to do a summerization, which should be a lot less steps and much easier than winterization, but you'll still want to make sure you do a few things for your summerization. I'll also provide a link to a summerization video I did on my 24MXZ. Okay, so that takes care of all of the items for maintenance on a wakeboat that I can think of at this point in time. I do encourage you to leave comments below and give me any other ideas you have for taking care of your wakeboat or maintenance. It's helpful for others that are watching this video. Otherwise, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you can be notified of my future videos. I'll see you next week.